Attumana. Mike, going back to this voices of the silenced, once you produced this film and you put it out for general analysis, what happened next?
Well, we sought to premiere it in one of the cinemas in Piccadilly Circus, actually, in London, and booked the venue 3 months in advance. 3 days before the event, Pink News took exception to this.
Pink News being?
Pink News is the largest news provider from the gay lobby point of view. Okay. Their news is often very accurate and clear, but on this occasion, they did not want to support what we were doing. Immediately got together a petition. I think there were 600 signatures in the end. They put pressure on View Entertainment, which had agreed to our premiere screening. And actually the day before the event, the venue was pulled.
Okay.
Now, the end of the story was we screened it somewhere else. But there was an immediate uproar that such films should not be allowed to be seen.
Okay. So
but
then
that is for me censorship.
It is pure censorship. And I can't understand
like
why...
someone tries to censorship other type of films. Let's put it clearly, you know?
I can't understand why one side also always insists that it has an open voice, it can say whatever it wants, but the other side must be silenced at all costs. What happened after this it was banned? I believe you took it to court?
Yes, well, first of all, we had a glorious promotion in the sense that everybody then at least knew about the film, which was very helpful, and perhaps those who opposed it shot themselves in the foot, which is why they're not very keen on giving us any kind of airtime in the UK. We screened the film, and yes, we certainly raised legal objections. And to cut a long story short, recently View Cinema admitted that they were wrong in saying that it would have been illegal to screen this film. There was no law disallowing them to do this. So they paid, the cost that we lost in terms of their venue, nothing else.
Okay. Okay, so basically there was no legal, if I'm understanding, legal objection to the...
None at all.
Okay, so just pure censorship for the sake of pure censorship. I also believe that you did a bus campaign. I'd like to also talk about this. Can we possibly see 4C, please? Can you explain what this was all about to people who are seeing this?
Well, in 2012, of course, London was host city for the Olympic Games, and Stonewall, the largest advocacy group in the United Kingdom, had the resources to be able to place an advert on 1,000 London buses. Some people are gay, get over it.
Can we just see the next clip? Because actually this is the very thing that you're talking about. So Stonewall, who are pro-LGBT,
yes,
actually produced an advert on the London buses.
That's
Here
correct.
it is. We're showing it. So we're tolerant to show it. And then your response to this was to, can we see the one before, please, if we can? Was to come up with this campaign.
Yes, and we had it on the side of the bus, not gay, ex-gay, post-gay and proud, get over it. I think what we were trying to say is some people were gay, get over it.
Exactly.
That would have been a better slogan, but at the time, that's what we wanted to do. And
what happened?
Well, Boris Johnson,
the mayor of London,
not then the mayor of London, but running for the mayoral position, immediately latched onto this and pulled the advert from Transport for London.
So yet again we have one side of the argument being able to do things, but somebody else doing the same thing exactly is stopped. Was that a legal thing to do?
Well, we went to the High Court then. We had a judicial review. We lost it. We appealed, so we went to the appellate division. We went before the highest judges in the land, including the Master of the Rolls. We lost the case. All costs were awarded against us, £150,000 in terms of legal expenses. But we made some important scores that were very successful through the case.
Which were?
Well, number one, that Transport for London had not been consistent with its own procedures. Number two, that the Mayor of London had lied, but he hadn't lied illegally. But
okay.
we'll park that one.
That's all legal
And number three, that under UK equality legislation of 2010, ex-gay functions as a protected characteristic, which means that under UK law, you may not lawfully discriminate a person who has who uses this term ex-gay.
No. This is. Can you just go through that one particular point once again, because this is a very, very, very serious point indeed, and I want to make sure I've understood it clearly.
So people who want to check this out can read the judgment online. They just need to Google Core Issues Trust versus Transport for London. It's paragraph 98. There are several documents out there, but look for the one that was in the appeal court. Paragraph 98.
Which states?
It's a comment. Mr. Squirrel is correct, the judge says, in helping us to understand that whether a person has a sexual orientation or the sexual orientation has changed. It actually uses the word change.
The sexual orientation has changed, okay?
It is, now I haven't got the words verbatim, but people can check this out. It would be illegal to discriminate a person's, against a person's sexual orientation, past, present, or future. In other words, sexual orientation is protected under the Equality Act, and ex-gay is functioning as a so-called sexual orientation, and therefore you may not discriminate in terms of services. Now, this is case law, and of course the UK government, in its now determination to ban what they call conversion therapy, has completely overlooked this case law.
So just what we're saying here, I think this is a seriously important case. In front of the highest legal authorities of Britain, there is a judgment which says ex-gay is a protected sexual orientation. If I'm understanding correct, there is such a thing, if there is such a thing as lesbian or homosexual or heterosexual or whatever, there is also a gender orientation labeled ex-gay, which is as protected as the rest of the sexual orientations. Is this what we're saying?
I believe that that's what that judgment is saying. It's not saying that it is a protected category. It is saying it functions like one, and you may not discriminate against it.
So let's agree that it says you may not discriminate against it. Isn't that what's happening here in Malta, where if someone who's saying, I was homosexual or a lesbian or whatever, I am not unhappy, I wasn't happy with that, today I don't practice that life.
Yeah, that's the issue. And you see, Ivan, this is the problem. The UK government now is determined to ban what they call conversion therapy. They undertook the largest national LGBT survey just a few weeks ago. But you notice nobody could undertake this survey unless they were LGBT identified, which means that the survey automatically excluded anybody who had benefited from therapeutic intervention, who no longer describes themselves as LGBT. That category was immediately cut out of the survey. And again, we have this deliberate refusal to recognize that some people were gay. Everybody knows that. People have done stuff in their lives. They turn away from it. They no longer identify in that way. This is a fact of human existence. We need to acknowledge the fact that there is that group of people, and we need to be respectful of their desire to maintain and reinforce that position.
No, I cannot. As I said, I'm not into the matter of psychiatry, but definitely I'm one that strongly believes that sexuality is a construct. Therefore, you construct your own sexuality.
Which
at least how I'm.
Can you explain?
No, it means that I decide to be a man. No, you know.
You have every right.
Right, or I can decide to change. That's a construct. It's not something that someone is born, you know, with an orientation. Someone decides on his orientation.
You see, again.
No, that's up then to the individual.
Okay, what is seriously interesting with what we're discussing here, and I don't think in any way whatsoever we are advertising gay therapy. We're simply discussing gay therapies for me to understand from you new things. Sometimes they argue that sexual orientation, sexual preference, sexual gender orientation, gender preference, gender whatever, is fluid. You can
if they argue it's fluid, they are accepting that it is a construct.
One day, exactly, one day, we've had people on TV, on national TV state, I wake up in the morning and I don't know if I am a man or if I am a woman. We've had this, we've seen this on TV. I can wake up in the morning and dress like a man, and I can wake up in the morning the next day and dress like a woman. At the same time, we are having arguments, and we're going to show in the final part of this program, where people who are attacking people who hold these ideas, the same people who hold these ideas that I can change my orientation, my whatever, are arguing the opposite in order to silence people like yourself, like Matthew, like me, like whoever, who says, listen, we have a different kind of ideology, a different kind of thinking, and we want to be able to speak freely, just like you are.
But that's the confusion of our modern society. Because at some point we state one thing, and at the same time we make a statement which is totally the opposite of the first one.
But this is the government of more.
Yeah, I agree.
Making laws.
And these are confusing laws.
Telling a minority, you cannot seek help how you think right, because I decided for you that you cannot, because of this one day, and next day the very opposite. This is a very, very dangerous situation, in my opinion.
It is, and I think we have to understand that probably the reason is this is a threat to any point of view who wants to make, who wants to propose the idea that we are born gay, or orientation is fixed and unchangeable. Now, you can change anything, but you may not change the fact that you were homosexual and now you wish to go in a different direction. That's the issue, and that's why this
you can change the orientation if you want. This a term created in the 19th century, heterosexual. It didn't exist before the 19th century. To become a homosexual, another term created in the 19th century. Okay, but you cannot move from homosexual to heterosexual, which are practically two terms created at the same time.
But here we have the Minister of Equality, of all ministers, the Minister of Equality, championing that you can move from one sexual orientation to the other, but it seems like you cannot go the other way. It's like having a road, which instead of being able, if you're fluid, if you're free to think for yourself, to be happy, you can go down. It's like Hotel California. You can check in anytime you wish, but you can never leave.
Exactly, it is cult behavior, and that's the problem.
That is surely.
But this is creating even a problem about truth. We're talking about post-truth, and we are creating this post-truth, because what's the truth? You know?
Well, for me, the truth, if I may, for me, it's again a fundamental
even in
right.
sexuality, you know.
I'm going to use a very old expression, but I think it still holds water in this. Self-determination.
That was a political statement, no?
But it's a cliche to whatever.
No, it isn't.
But for me to determine how I want to live and what I want to do, if I want to go and seek help, who is the government to say you can seek help this way, but that way you will go to prison. You will go to prison or be fined if you go and seek help or if somebody offers you that help.
Now,
that is wrong.
In the United Kingdom, they pride themselves on being so far ahead in terms of gay rights. A great deal of attention is given to that. Even in the midst of Brexit, the government is trying to enforce this particular law. We need to ask ourselves why this is happening. Prime Minister Theresa May talks about the abhorrent practice of conversion therapy. She uses the same language as our Equality Minister, Penny Mordaunt. They both use that language. We ask them, may we please bring some people who have benefited or have changed their lives because of their religious convictions, and we are continually refused any kind of audience with these people.
30 seconds.
No, I will just ask you one question. This is a political question. How you explain that certain what are called progressive theories in sexuality are at the moment being pushed forward by the Conservatives and not, let's say it, for example, the Labour Party? How do you explain that in the UK? Why the Conservatives are so in favour?
We have to close.
I think it's simply because that's where the power lies. The power lies with sexual. We've seen race politicized. We've seen religion politicized. We're now seeing sexuality politicized. The politicians know where the power is. The politicians go to the power, and that's what they are implementing to achieve the goals, their goal, to remain in power.
So it's all about vote catching rather than policies.
I believe it is.
We have to finish this this third part of the program. Kunu maħna wara l-break ħalli nispiċċaw l-aħħar parti tal-programm.